I want to have a bit of a conversation with you before we go into our meditation time this morning, because my heart feels really heavy this morning. And I imagine I'm not the only one in this room that is feeling the sadness and heaviness around the attack in Charlottesville yesterday. Charlottesville, Virginia is somewhat close to my heart. I have two nephews who graduated from the University of Virginia there, just walking distance from Emancipation Park, where we know that white nationalists were protesting the removal of a Confederate monument at that park, and their rally incited, or not incited, well, yes it did. There was a counter-protest to their protest of the removal of that Confederate monument. And in that situation, we know that one person lost their life and 19 people were wounded. I've been in ministry for quite a number of years now, and I've never been through such a period of time before, because we've not been through this period of time before where so many of these things are happening. And part of what I know to be true is that it's too easy to fall blind or apathetic and just shut down and say, well, okay, you know, it's just another one of those things, and pick back up and move on. While one was killed and 19 were wounded, that's tragic, and I think it points to an even greater wounding. And it has been pointing, each of these kinds of situations has been pointing to a very serious wounding that I believe, as a spiritual leader and teacher, until we really address the real issue, we're not going to see these things stop happening. And those serious and deep wounds that we as a nation need to heal, I believe, are the wounds of the genocide committed to our Native Americans, who were here long before any white person put their foot on this country, this soil, and the act of slavery. And until we go deep into what those issues really are and deal with those, we're not going to see these things stop. I don't know how it is for you, but I'm finding that every time something like this happens, every time a black person loses their life in a police shooting, or any person of color is discriminated against, I'm finding it very hard being white. I feel like I owe a big apology, even though I'm not the one that has done these things. I do know that my race helps to, knowingly or unknowingly, hold in place certain societal structures that allow racism to continue, and all the harm and ugliness that springs forth out of racism. None of us would think of allowing a physical wound to become infected and just kind of wipe it down and put a Band-Aid over it. We wouldn't think of doing that because we know that that's not the way you heal. And unless and until all of us, especially those who are not people of color, stand up for and begin to try to understand better what's holding the issue of racism in place, it's not going to shift and change. I've got to believe that we in this room, as people who are committed to a spiritual way of living and thinking and being, are the very ones that need to have the moral strength and courage to educate ourselves, to understand better what it is that's really taking place, and not to shut down. So I want to suggest a little bit of homework for us, and I'm speaking mostly to people who look like me. And that unfortunately is still our congregation. I wish we were much more colorful than we are, and maybe we can become that. But I'm speaking to people who look like me. I think we have a responsibility as spiritually practicing individuals to educate ourselves and get a little uncomfortable about the things that we need to learn around white privilege and everything that that entails. And so my homework suggestion, my request, is that you watch 2 movies this week. One of them I know is available on Netflix, and the other movie you can download from YouTube. The one movie that's available on Netflix is called 13th, and it is about our 13th Amendment and mass incarceration. The other movie is a movie that I watched with my Black minister friends at the Unity Convention. They let me come to their African American luncheon. And a movie that we saw together was a movie called White Like Me. I'd like you to watch these movies, and then more than that, and watch them all the way through. And I promise you, if you're anything like I am, you're going to feel uncomfortable. And you're probably going to also have some light bulbs go off where you go, oh my God, how did I not know this? There's a lot that we don't know. Then, after watching those movies, talk to a person of color, preferably one of your friends, and talk to them about what came up for you as you watched this movie, and listen to what they have to say about it. By doing that, by being willing to get a little uncomfortable, by being willing to educate yourself about things that you may not know about, you and I can be more responsible, more aware, and be able to do some things that can help heal and shift this once and for all. Let's not put a Band-Aid on it, okay?
Thanks for listening. Sunday services at 9 and 11 a.m. Inclusivity. It's worth the drive. Subscribe to our podcasts and download our free app for instant access to a wealth of spiritual teachings, services, and events.